that is really notable too, I guess, in the way that, the way that it is kind of respectful of Muhammad Ali's faith, in that Mann strikes me as our one of our premier godless auteurs.
It's just not a thing in his movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Ali's probably the only one that has any real dealings with religion at all,
and even that sort of has Jamie Foxx's Black Jew character giving a monologue about how we're alone in the universe, like kind of plugged in there kind of out of nowhere.
I mean, you can contrast so directly with Scorsese crime films, like it's night and day when it comes to how religion is involved. And yeah, like I think it's just not something he gives a shit about. And not to say his characters are atheists.
Oh, I think they absolutely are.
Yeah, all of them, you think?
Yeah.
You don't think?
I mean, other than Ali.
Frank the Thief? You don't think?
Oh, no. It's inherent to the philosophy, the existential philosophy that gets really, I wish I had my Heat 2 copy here to like pull up the actual paragraph where Macaulay lays it out very directly. But the idea that we're all just specks of dust floating on a ball for a galactic millisecond, and all we have, his relationship to time, that's very clear. We're talking about, we haven't gotten to any of the movies now that use the line "time is luck," but it shows up in one of his movies. His relationship with time is, I think, really interesting and something that defines it, which we'll get into maybe coming up next. But just in terms of religion, it does strike me that, one, religion's not that popular of a topic in movies. I mean, if we're looking at the other directors we've done, none of them are particularly godly people. And I think that it's just a thing across the board that religion doesn't make its way into movie. It's bad business to have religion in movies. If you don't want your movies to be denominational in a way that it's...
I suppose, but, like Scorsese and Spielberg, some of the greatest filmmakers of all time. Coppola, for sure. Religion, big part of their movies, a big part of who they are, clearly, just as you can tell by watching their movies. Hasn't really come up with other guys yet.
Yeah. Well, in the context of Michael Mann, I think it is inherent in all of his heroes that they don't believe in a higher power or that there's anything to look forward to after this life. That's what the time is luck mantra means, and why whatever you do, the stakes are super high, because this is all you got is what you do in this moment. And particularly if you're going to facing life in jail for what you're going to do, that moment could be very fleeting if you're going to catch a bullet or a life sentence for it. Somehow this came up in our conversation about Ali, where nobody is. I mean, I guess he's facing jail time.
It's the religious one. It's the religious one.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhat. But I mean, that's a problem, though. I don't think he quite gets it as respectfully as he is. I don't feel like I have a deeper understanding of the Islam faith from Ali, or why it appealed to him, or why it was such a cornerstone of his life. It's sort of taken as granted. And then here's sort of the drama that happened as a result of that.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about the through line of time and what to do with your time. But that is also, it's fused into the bones of the man protagonist, starting here.
They're all going to use their time similarly. Yeah. Yes.
Well, and he's, the scene that I think about most in Thief, when I think back at it now, is not the thieving or the big shootout at the end. It's the diner scene with Tuesday Weld. And he's bearing his soul to her. And one of the main things he's telling her is, I do not have enough time left to do the things that I want. And that's what prison is, this clarifying experience of your time is not your own. And so deciding what you want to do when you get out becomes so important. And right from the start, that Frank is as much of a man protagonist, a fully formed as anybody. It's because he has such a clear eye on that I lost a bunch of time. I don't have enough to do what I really want to do, and I have to use it properly. And anything I do working for somebody else is sort of wasted time, because I want to be Joe the boss of my own body, as he says. I want to mention about the Jericho Mile in relation to this too, I guess. That's a TV movie. He went into Folsom Prison and shot it there. And there just seems to me to be something autobiographical about his movies since then. Because the thing we keep talking about with the Michael Mann protagonists, they go into jail and they're philosophy, like as a criminal, but when they're in there, they often have a prison mentor that sort of teaches them to be a real expert in their field and come out a full-blown master of their craft, and to with a laser precision focus on what they want to do and how they want to do their work. And it strikes to me that Mann going into Folsom Prison and shooting the Jericho Mile there is kind of that, with the craft of filmmaking as opposed to the craft of armed robbery.
It's interesting. It's sort of the Johnny Cash thing. Speaking of Folsom Prison,
yeah,
actually, it's almost the same kind of thing. Actually, as finding a great identification with the convicts.
Which we'll go next to Mohicans, which is my favorite movie ever, as established. And which, yes,
the Michael Mann film I've seen more than any. I'm sure now. I think I don't know how many times, a dozen more. Yeah, it's a big one.
I mean, it's the movie I've seen the most as an adult. If we're being the movie that I've seen the most as an adult, this is also a movie that revealed itself to me in a new way with Michael, with mansplaining and our doing this project here, because I always thought this is a great movie. I love it, but it's also such an outlier for Michael Mann. And the thing that revealed itself to me is how it fits in with the elements of time that we were talking about. And
with that monologue at the end, yeah,
yeah, and so the He Too Mile reference is Neil Macaulay standing with a sand dune or standing with his girlfriend on a sand dune, talking about how we are just these footprints that will be blown away, like we were never here in any moment. And that is what makes Michael Mann characters act the way they are, is that they're so aware of that, and they want to do a thing entirely for their own reasons, of their own volition, and they want to do it just so, to their exacting standards. And in an action crime context, that makes his criminals very interesting and kind of tragic. And what I'm suddenly seeing in Mohicans now is, this is that philosophy applied to an entire culture that sees the wind coming to blow the sand, its impression out of the sand.
That's cool. That's really good. That makes more use of the title than the fucking James Fenimore Cooper book does, actually. Yeah. That's really neat. Yeah, we talked about no spirituality. This one has a touch, I think, that it finds just a little bit in, I don't know, the enormity of time, maybe.
Yeah, it's
what a pretentious thing to say, but no, it's there a little.
Well, that's okay, but that's the thing is, we can start sounding so pretentious talking about this. The movies, as they are addressing this and dramatizing this, do not sound pretentious. Even
no,
because yes, there's that final monologue that puts that capper on it, but it feels entirely earned for that character in that moment, mourning the violent death of his son, to be talking contemplatively like this. And for it's not like a 4-page monologue. It's like three or four sentences,
maybe.
And the movie as a whole does not belabor that point. I could watch this movie 20 times over 20 years and kind of miss it, even though I was absorbing it in some fashion into my bones. But
yeah, God, wonderful film, and just what a purely entertaining film too. This functions so perfectly as just a piece of popcorn entertainment.
Oh yeah, so watchable.
Anything else? Yeah, like it's just the most entertaining goddamn movie. Man, I wish he'd made more of these. Just one more. The content of his philosophy alone is intriguing. And a great thing to hang a narrative on, as often as not.
Yeah, this stuff,
this sort of character work. Yeah.
This, really, it's gotten my philosophical juices flowing more than I expected. the stuff about time is incredible, because it's got me thinking lately about how time is sort of the only resource when you get down to it. That's the only thing anybody's fighting over. Going to jail is a punishment because it's taking away the time that you have on this earth. And, what do we want? If we can fight over food, but what is food? I eat some food. It buys me a little more time to be healthy and active. That we can fight. We fight wars over who runs the world, but nobody runs the world forever. You're fighting for a little more time on top before somebody else comes in and runs the Ukraine or whatever. Like maybe the great innovation of democracy as a form of governance and a ruling system is not so much that it has the consent of the governed, the voice of the people in it, because that's always, from modern America to ancient Greece, that's always been pretty unevenly distributed, whose voices got heard at what points.
Oh, sure.
But maybe the great innovation there is that it's actually just making it explicit that we're not. It's whoever's in charge. We're not fighting over them being an eternal dynasty. It is they get a set increment of time that they get to be in charge, and because that increment is set and everybody knows about it in advance, we can have we don't have to have a fight to the death over every transition of power. And maybe that's more important than the voice of the governed. And I did not expect watching Thief or Less Than Mohicans to set me down that train of thought.
Well said. Yeah, it's been greatly rewarding.